Hi, I'm Mike Linksvayer. My project is the World Intellectual Freedom Organization, or WIFO. I believe that a good future requires freedom, equality, and security to be the top objectives of knowledge policy. Instead, the current default intellectual property is driving us to a future of inequality, conflict, and control. IP reforms aiming for balance or to curb the worst abuses, while laudable, are not commensurate with what is at stake. They do not alter the structure of knowledge production, nor do they fundamentally challenge the IP paradigm. Open production and open policy together are the reform that does exactly these things. Open alters the structure of production so as to diminish the constituency for IP and increase both the constituency and policy imagination for freedom. I've been working in open movements for the last 15 years, including as co-founder of one of the earliest open data services, as CTO and VP of Creative Commons, as a director of Open Hatch and Software Freedom Conservancy, and as an advisor and participant in many other projects. I'm a huge fan of free and open source software, open access, open data, open education, open hardware, wikis, etc. These movements have achieved great things within their fields, increasingly including policy wins. I'm starting WIFO to move the goalposts, to position open as a direct challenge to IP and as the primary mechanism for reform, period, not only within specific fields, and to figure out how open can take on new fields, including the ones that really matter, movies and drugs, the signal cases for IP. Here's what I plan to do in the first year in the categories of do, think, and communicate. 1. Do. WIFO will start 2 lean, scalable, web-based interventions that have potential for realigning parts of the knowledge economy with openness. The first is a new take on advertising structured around incentivizing openness. The second aims to consolidate an audience for open movies, a first step in addressing the yawning gap in distribution and marketing for open, even where open production is feasible. 2. Think. In the open, through outreach and engagement with relevant activist communities and organizations, WIFO will develop strategies towards making openness central rather than peripheral to policy and the economy, addressing questions such as, what tweaks to the usual reform proposals are necessary for each to favor open production? What do open practices suggest that's missing from the usual reform agenda? What forms could venture commenting take? How can we forecast the impact of knowledge policy on macro outcomes such as wealth inequality? How can a relative progress of openness be tracked? 3. Communicate. Provocations intended to shift discourse and engage communities. For example, World Intellectual Freedom Day on the same day as World IP Day, complementing the WIFO name and suggesting replacement of property with freedom, accompanied by an intellectual freedom declaration. A campaign for openness as rehab for pirates, who otherwise provide price discrimination and customer retention and gratis marketing services for freedom-infringing industries. A campaign starkly illustrating the choice of gross inequality and dystopia versus abundance and autonomy being made through knowledge policy and the knowledge economy. Expected results after 1 year. The ambition of open movements will be shifted upward and outward. Openness will begin to be accepted as a primary reform mechanism and considered necessary for a good future in the broadest sense. There will be an engaged worldwide community around WIFO that sees itself as the avant-garde and future of openness, scaling and sustaining the 2 previous results. One of the do interventions will be wildly successful, reshaping possibility space for open, or at least informing the next interventions with that aim. If you're a Shuttleworth Foundation reviewer, I hope this proposal resonates with your organization's vision for a better future centered around open principles. I'd be honored and thrilled to collaborate in fellowship with others in realizing this vision. That goes for anyone viewing this as well. If you want to get involved in any of the actions I've discussed or explain why I'm wrong, please visit wifo.org and get in touch. This recording is dedicated to the public domain. Do what thou wilt.